Level 1. The student loan, $47,000. You signed the papers at 18. You didn't read them. Nobody does. You signed the promissory note in August, the week before freshman orientation. The financial aid office was in a building with good air conditioning and a woman named Donna who explained everything quickly and handed you a pen. The papers were thick. The numbers were large. You signed where the arrows were because everyone else was signing where the arrows were, and because the alternative, not going to college, felt like a different kind of disaster than the one you were quietly agreeing to. $47,000. Over 4 years, with interest accruing from the day each disbursement hit, the actual cost will be closer to $62,000 by the time you graduate. You don't know this yet. Donna didn't explain the accrual schedule. The arrows didn't point to that part. 4 years later, you're walking across a stage in a rented gown, collecting a diploma in a field you chose at 17, when someone asked you what you wanted to do with your life, which is a question no 17-year-old can answer. Honestly, because no 17-year-old has lived enough life to know what they want to do with it. 6 months after graduation, the grace period ends. The first bill arrives, $487 a month. You are making $38,000 a year at an entry-level job that required the degree you just finished paying $62,000 for. After taxes, your take-home is around $2,600 a month. The $487 is 18% of that. Gone before you buy groceries. Gone before rent. Gone before you fill your gas tank or pay your phone bill or do any of the things that keeping a human being alive in America in your 20s requires. You call the servicer. You get income-driven repayment. The payment drops to $210 a month. The relief is immediate. What you don't fully register is that at $210 a month, you are not covering the interest. The balance is growing while you're paying it. The loan is eating itself and being fed at the same time. This is how $47,000 becomes $55,000 without you buying a single additional thing. You tell yourself you'll pay it off aggressively when you get a better job. This is what everyone tells themselves. The better job comes with a better lifestyle. The better lifestyle expands to fill the better salary. The loan stays where it is, a background hum, a line item, a thing you carry that you've stopped really thinking about, because thinking about it doesn't change the number. 10 years in, you've paid $25,200. Your balance is $41,000. You check the original amount, $47,000. You have been paying for a decade, and the loan is $6,000 smaller. You close the tab, you open it again, you close it. Level 2, the credit card, $8,400. It started with a balance transfer offer and a transmission that died on the highway. The transmission went on a Tuesday in November on I-95, somewhere between exits 14 and 15. You had $600 in checking. The transmission was $2,400. You put it on the card that had been in your wallet for 2 years with a $5,000 limit and a zero balance, the one you'd been proud of not using, the one that felt like proof you were being responsible. After the transmission came the heating bill that winter, which was higher than you planned. Then, the work trip where the company reimbursement took 6 weeks, and the hotel and flights were on the card in the meantime. Then, the medical bill that insurance covered 80% of, and 80% turned out to still leave $1,100. None of these were reckless decisions. That's the part of credit card debt that doesn't match the cultural narrative. The narrative that says people are in debt because they bought things they didn't need. Sometimes people are in debt because a transmission died, and winter was cold, and insurance doesn't cover everything, and the timing of reimbursement doesn't match the timing of rent. The balance is $8,400. Interest rate, 24.99%. That rate sounded abstract when you were approved. It is no longer abstract. At 24.99%, if you make the minimum payment every month, you will be paying this card until the car it rescued is already at a junkyard. You make more than the minimum. Some months. The months when something else doesn't come up. The card's interface is very good. The app is clean and friendly. There's a little graph that shows your spending by category. Blue for restaurants, green for groceries, orange for gas. And it's almost pleasant to look at. It does not show you a graph of how much of your payment goes to interest versus principal. That graph would not be clean and friendly. That graph would keep you up at night. $8,400 at 24.99% costs you $174 a month in interest alone if you're carrying the balance and making minimum payments. $174 a month to rent money you already spent on a car repair and a heating bill and a medical copay. $174 a month going to a company that is doing nothing except being owed money. You apply for a balance transfer. 0% for 15 months, 3% transfer fee. You transfer $5,000. You make a plan. The plan works for 4 months and then doesn't, because plans encounter real life, and real life doesn't care about plans. The balance on the transfer card at the end of the 15-month period, $3,800. The promotional rate expires. The new rate, 26.99%. You apply for another balance transfer. Level 3. The car $34,000 financed at 7.9%. You are paying $680 a month to drive to work, to earn money, to pay for the car you drive to work. You needed a car. That part is true. Public transit where you live is theoretical rather than functional. The buses run technically, but not to where you work at the hours you work. And the job you have doesn't allow for the kind of schedule flexibility that would make a 90-minute transit commute survivable. You needed a car. The car you had died. The options were buy a car or lose the job. You went to the dealership on a Saturday with $2,500 saved for a down payment and a specific number in your head. You'd read articles. You knew your budget. You were going to be disciplined. The salesman was friendly. He knew things about the financing math that you didn't. He also knew that you needed a car today, and that needing something today is the specific condition that makes people spend more than they planned. $34,000. More than you intended. The monthly payment is $680 over 60 months at 7.9%. Your credit score wasn't quite good enough for the lower rate because of the credit card balance, which is now affecting your credit score, which is now affecting your car loan rate, which is now affecting your monthly payment, which is now affecting your ability to pay down the credit card, which affects the credit score. The circularity of this is not immediately visible when you're sitting at the dealership on a Saturday afternoon filling out paperwork. It becomes visible over time as the pieces connect, as you understand the system you're in, not as a series of individual decisions, but as an architecture. The car depreciates 20% the moment you drive it off the lot. You are financing a $34,000 asset that is immediately worth $27,000 and declining. You owe more than it's worth for the first 3 years. This is called being underwater. A significant percentage of American car owners are underwater on their car loans at any given time. The dealerships know this. The financing companies know this. It is priced into the system. $680 a month, $8,160 a year. Over 60 months, $40,800 paid for a car that cost $34,000, meaning $6,800 paid to the financing company in interest, on top of the depreciation, on top of insurance, on top of maintenance and gas and registration. The total cost of ownership for this car over 5 years will be somewhere around $55,000. You make $52,000 a year. The math doesn't need a calculator to be uncomfortable. Level 4. The mortgage, $380,000. The debt that everyone congratulates you for. When you closed on the house, people said congratulations. Your parents cried a little. Your coworkers asked about the neighborhood and the square footage. Your Instagram post got 200 likes, more than anything you'd posted in 2 years. The American dream, executed. The thing you were supposed to do. Evidence that you were making it. Nobody mentioned that you'd just taken on the largest debt of your life. Nobody talks about mortgages as debt exactly. They're framed as investments, as wealth building, as the responsible alternative to throwing money away on rent, all of which contains truth. Also, $380,000 at 6.75% over 30 years means you will pay $894,000 by the time the mortgage is done. You are buying a $380,000 house for $894,000. The payment is $2,470 a month. Year 1, $2,470 breaks down like this. Roughly $2,100 goes to interest. $370 goes to principal. You are paying $2,100 a month to borrow money and $370 a month to actually own your house. This ratio shifts over time, slowly, frustratingly slowly. But in the early years of a mortgage, the bank gets most of your payment and you get a receipt. Then the furnace needs replacing. $6,800. Then the roof has a section that didn't survive last winter. $9,400. Then the bathroom you knew needed updating turns into a project that the contractor estimated at $14,000 and completed at $21,000, because that's what contractors and bathrooms do. You put $18,000 of this on a home equity line of credit, which felt responsible because the rate was lower than the credit card and the interest might be deductible. Depending on how it's used, depending on your tax situation, depending on details, you'll sort out when you do your taxes. Except you sort them out, and it's more complicated than the article made it sound. The house is worth $415,000 now. The market went up since you bought. You have roughly $47,000 in equity. You owe $371,000 on the mortgage and $18,000 on the HELOC. Net position, $26,000. After 3 years of ownership and $89,000 in mortgage payments, your net equity in the house is $26,000. You own roughly $26,000 of a $415,000 asset. The bank owns the rest. This is still probably the right financial decision relative to renting in your market. The math is genuinely complicated, and the answer depends on assumptions about appreciation rates and rent growth that nobody can make with certainty. What is certain? The house is not the simple wealth-building mechanism the congratulations implied it was. It is an asset and a debt and a maintenance expense and an emotional anchor, all simultaneously. And sorting out which is dominant at any given moment requires more spreadsheet time than anyone told you it would. You mow the lawn on Saturday. The neighbors wave. The mortgage payment drafts on the 1st. Level 5, the stack, $487,400 total. Welcome to average. Let's add it up. Student loan, $41,000 remaining after a decade of payments on an original $47,000. Credit card, $6,200 across 2 cards. Car loan, $22,000 remaining, 30 months left. Mortgage, $371,000. HELOC, $18,000. Total, $458,200. You are not in a crisis. Your payments are current. Your credit score is 694, which is technically good, and practically means you qualify for things, but not at the best rates. You go to work. You pay the bills. You are, by most measures, a functioning American adult managing their financial life reasonably. You are also carrying $458,000 in debt on a $72,000 salary. The Federal Reserve reports that the average American household carries approximately $104,000 in total debt. Yours is higher. The mortgage is the main driver. But you are not an outlier. You are somewhere in the broad middle of how American personal finance actually works, which is, most people carry more debt than wealth for most of their working lives. And the goal isn't to eliminate debt, it's to manage it without letting it manage you. The managing without being managed line is harder to locate than it sounds. It requires knowing exactly what each debt costs per month in interest, not payment, interest, which is the actual cost of carrying the balance. Your total monthly interest across all accounts is roughly $2,800. That's $33,600 a year going to lenders for the privilege of owing them money. Your gross salary is $72,000. You are sending 47 cents of every dollar you earn straight to interest before you buy groceries. This is legal. This is common. This is the architecture of American consumer finance, which is designed by people who understand compound interest and marketed to people who feel it, but don't always see the mechanism. The student loan servicer sends you a year-end statement showing total interest paid. You open it once. You don't open it again. Level 6. The turn. You stop managing debt and start attacking it. The order matters more than the math. The change doesn't come from a book. It comes from a conversation. Your coworker mentions casually over bad office coffee that she just paid off her car. She says it like it's nothing. You ask how. She shrugs. She just started paying an extra $300 a month toward the principal and knocked 2 years off the loan. She put the extra money toward the credit card next. It's not a revelation. You knew this was possible. But something about hearing it from someone standing in the same break room, making approximately what you make, reframes it from theory into fact. You go home. You open a spreadsheet. Not for the first time, but with a different quality of attention. You list every debt, balance, interest rate, minimum payment. You calculate what it would cost to add $400 a month toward the highest rate debt, the credit card at 24.99%, and how fast the balance would fall. Faster than you thought. The credit card at $400 above minimum is gone in 14 months. 14 months. You've been carrying this balance for 3 years, paying minimums, watching it barely move, feeling the weight of it. And the answer, the literal mathematical answer, is 14 months of focused attention. This is the part of the debt story that feels like it should have a dramatic moment, a click, an obvious turning point. It mostly doesn't. It mostly just looks like you stop getting takeout 4 nights a week. You cancel the streaming services you can live without. You put the $400 toward the card. You watch the balance fall, month by month. No confetti. The credit card goes. You take the freed payment and stack it on the next debt. The car. Then the HELOC. Each payoff frees up cash that accelerates the next one. This is the debt avalanche. And the reason it works isn't because the math is complicated. It's because forward momentum is its own motivation, and the first payoff creates evidence that the next one is possible. The student loan is last. It takes the longest. It is also the one that felt the most permanent, the most background, the most fixed. The month you make the final payment, you check the balance 3 times, because 0 doesn't look right. You've been staring at this number for 14 years. 0 looks right. You just need a minute to believe it. If any level of this is where you're living right now, subscribe. More of these coming. And drop a comment about where you're at. You're not the only one doing the math at midnight.